Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the press conference announcing Cal Poly National Letter of Intent signees. Also like to welcome everybody watching on video stream. Thank the CBS Interactive for providing that stream free of charge to anyone listening today. Introducing head coach Tim Walsh, who will announce his third recruiting class at Cal Poly, 17 players, and turn it over to Tim.
Great. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Obviously, it's an exciting day for Cal Poly and Cal Poly football in particular. And I'm real excited with the class we have. But, again, I say this, I think this is the 21st time I've said this as a head coach, is if there's a head coach up here saying they had not a good year, then they got huge issues. So, obviously, we think we're very excited about what we're able to do. And I do think, it starts with the hard work the coaches have done. That's something that has to be thanked. Our coaches worked a lot of endless hours in the process. When you think about the state of California and how many guys young people play high school football in this state, that's a lot of guys to evaluate. And trust me, of those guys that play high school football in the state of California, I think there's a large percentage that would raise their hand right now and say, I do, to Cal Poly. So we have a tremendous situation, but we have to work hard and we have to find the best fits possible for our university, first of all, for our football program, secondly, and probably the most important factor in the whole thing is it's not really Cal Poly's time or Tim Walsh's time or our football program's time. It's an opportunity for a young person to get the education they desire, to get the football experience they desire, as well as the college experience they desire, to grow into the young man that their moms and dads want them to grow into. So we have a tremendous place to attract young people. And once again, like I said in my press release, is that we visited 20 guys and 17 said yes. I mean, those are incredible numbers in college football. To be shooting in the 80 percentile of the guys you visit to the guys that say yes, that doesn't happen in a lot of places. It probably happens a little bit at Stanford or USC and top-level programs across the country. But for our level, for us to be able to recruit that many, because if you look at the process that you have to go through, there's an elite number of 10% guys, let's say 10% of the guys in the state of California, that they're no-brainers. SC wants them, UCLA wants them, everybody wants them. We want them, to be honest with you. But really those are no-brainers to offer. Then you take that middle 35 or 40%, that's a lot of the players that fit this thing in California. And for us to make the decisions on who the top end of those guys are, we want to get this top as close as we can to that top 10% with the players that we're going to recruit that fit what we think is the Poly way or the Cal Poly traditions that we have here, the educational opportunities we have. That's a tough task. And to be swinging at 80% in the mid-80s, that's a great job that we've done. And it's a great credit to the university that we're able to attract the young people that we're able to attract. So I do think it's a threefold deal. I think our coaches work extremely hard. So do our current players, because our current players are our best recruiters. Because I can go into a home and our coaches can go into homes and we can talk to young people and their parents about what we want to think, and they look at us like you're just selling us a bill of goods. So what we basically say is, come here and find out for yourselves. And our young players that are here now living on a daily basis. So when the visit happens, I think we have a tremendous asset in the current players. They tell the experience like it really is, and that's a great help to us as well. I think secondly, obviously, the academic portion of who we are at Cal Poly is a huge, huge hit with parents and with young people that are directed enough to understand where they want to be 5 years from now, and that this football experience is going to end. And what's going to be important is the piece of paper you have. So I'm extremely excited with the class we have. I think we filled the needs that we identified. I think that we fit young people that we think fit Cal Poly, and we fit them, because it is a two-way street. And I really was excited to have the guys that said yes say yes when they said yes. And for the most part, yes meant yes. And we did have one or two that yes meant I don't know, and I thought it meant yes. Then that's unfortunate, but that happens from going both directions, to be honest with you, too. So I think we were very fortunate with a lot of the young people that said yes. The other benefit that we do have now is that we have a football camp. It's a one-day camp that we ran two consecutive Saturdays, and I know that some people were out there, I think Bill was, to see it. I mean, we had about 210 kids, 220 kids at each Saturday session. Of the young people we signed, the 15 high school guys we signed, I believe it was, 11 were at the camp. So the opportunity to see those guys up close and personal was a huge benefit to us, and it was probably great for them to see how we coach and how we interact with our current players and young people in general, and I think that was a huge selling point for us as well. So with that, I'd be glad to get started, and then I'll have questions for you here and hopefully have some good answers for you, more importantly, in a couple of minutes. Thanks. You can sit here. I hope these are in the same order. I hope. Yes. Okay, Chris Brown, Dominguez High School quarterback. Chris came to our camp, did a tremendous job at the camp, and he was the guy we wanted from the get-go at quarterback. He's a tremendous athlete. He has an older brother that's at Stanford, so the academic piece of the puzzle was a huge fit for him. But if you just look at his athleticism and his numbers that he put up in his high school career, they're pretty darn good. I think the one thing we saw at camp that we weren't 100% sure of was his ability to throw the ball was much further along than we expected, but he has tremendous athleticism. He has the ability to create plays with his legs, and obviously in the offense that we're running now, that's a great asset for us to have. So we really think that he was as excited about us as we were about him. He had a lot of different opportunities, but Chris wants to be a quarterback. He did not want to be a wide receiver. He did not want to be a defensive back. And I remember the first time that we had the opportunity to talk to him at camp, and after seeing him in the spring and all those things, was to listen to him say that, you know, if you guys are going to recruit me as a quarterback, I love the place, I love the coaches, this is where I'm going to go to school. And he stuck with that commitment from that day forward. So it was a great opportunity for us to have Chris Brown become a part of the Mustang family. Carlton Dennis also was at camp. He's a corner from Servite High School. Obviously, we have a couple of Servite guys on the team that Carlton is extremely close with, but he's played against the best. I mean, some of the people that he's played against in Southern California are the very best, and that wide receiver from Mater Dei is a pretty good player right there that he just took the ball away from. Carlton's another guy that's a little bit undersized, but has great speed in the open field. He's really put together. Reminds us a lot of Bijan Samudi. Might be a little bit step faster, sorry Bijan, than Bijan is, but Bijan's been a great quality player for us the last 2 years, and we think this guy has the ability to be an impact player and come in and compete at a very quick level for us. So another great guy that had opportunities, Ivy League opportunities. He's that type of a young man. A lot of other schools were on him and recruited him. I think he fell in love with the place when he came here as well in the summer for camp. And his visit went real well, and I think his mom and dad were excited with the opportunities they saw for Carlton at Cal Poly. Chris Fletcher, corner. Now, Chris was in a different boat because he is an electric player, whether he has the ball or he doesn't have the ball. I mean, he is a tremendous player. His dad played in the NFL, was a good player for the Chargers back in the 70s. He is a guy that we offered at either position and let him choose it. His team, in his 2 years, I think they lost 2 or 3 games at Eastlake High School in San Diego, but he's great with the ball in his hands. We think he's got an immediate future at the corner position for us. He reminds us probably a little bit of Asa, a little bit with his abilities and how far along he is as a player. And we allowed him to choose between offense and defense. The only thing he asks is give me an opportunity to return the football if I play defense, and he definitely will get that opportunity. When you meet him, too, he's one of those guys that can kind of light up a room. He's got the personality you're looking for and the confidence you're looking for, but he is a guy that will be a quick impact. He's got great change of direction. He's great with the football, and really feel that he'll be a valuable asset for us quickly, and the sooner the better for him, I'm sure, but if we could have him for 5, that would be great too. Dillington Terrace, another camper, Ventura High School. He's one of those guys that, you know, he's so young looking that you forget that how good he's going to be because he's explosive. Obviously, you can see that right there. You'll see on our offensive lineman, we really look for great defensive linemen to be the offensive lineman that we sign. And he's got great explosion, great quickness off the football. He's got a body that right now he's probably about 6'4" and 245 pounds. He's wrestling. He probably is going to be a guy that you'll see in 2 years at 6'4", 270, 275, look a little bit like Scott Winneweisser for us that we have now. And we really feel has a great future as with the athletic ability that he has on the offensive line, and just a quality guy. Another guy that just when I visited with him, I came back. I told Greg Lufer who recruited him, and I just said that guy was a pleasure to be around. He gets it. He's enjoying his life. He's enjoying life as a senior in high school. He's wrestling because they have a chance to win a CIF state championship, and he wants to be a part of that. Championship thing is what we want as well. And he just enjoys the experience, and I think he's going to enjoy the overall experience of Cal Poly when he arrives next fall, but he will be a tremendous football player for us in the future. Jordan Hines is an interesting story. jack of all trades. He's Chris Fletcher's teammate at Eastlake High School in Chula Vista, San Diego area. Another guy that won a lot of games, and he's a big, raw wide receiver. And the way I say raw wide receiver is because he played quarterback, he played wide receiver, he played free safety, he played a little bit of everything. But he's legitimately 6'2", all of 6'2", maybe 6'3", 190 pounds now. He started triple jumping in their league meet, their total league meet at the end of the track season last year, and did pretty well, and then qualified for the sections, qualified for the state, and I think he finished 7th in the state of California in the triple jump last year, which means he's probably the odds-on favorite to win it. This year he played, like I said, almost everywhere, and we just think with the refinement that he's going to get by playing one position once he arrives here, great things are going to happen for him. And just a quality young guy that, again, I think that him and Chris came together on their visit, and I think they left saying the same thing, that this is the place where they really feel that their entire future is going to be solidified by who they're going to become, not only as a football player, but as not only as a football player, but as a student, and as well as the young man they're going to become. To Uta Inoki. He is a quarterback, actually, from Luther Burbank High School that ran the triple option, came to our camp, and we were real impressed with him as a quarterback. But we really liked what we saw in Chris Brown that particular day. But we just thought that he could play a lot of places for us. But we're going to start him out as a linebacker. He's getting thicker. He's probably about 215 or 20 pounds right now, and really feel like he's got the mentality that it's going to take to really excel at that position. As you can see, most quarterbacks might have avoided that. He decided not to. So he is just a pleasure to be around as a young man. He's one of those Eagle Scout kind of guys. He didn't even take his official visit here because he had Eagle Scout commitments every weekend. And just as one of those guys I really think is going to be a pleasure to be around all the way around, and until he clicks up that helmet. Then if you're an opponent, he probably is not going to be too pleasurable to be around. I think he's going to be a great one, though, and he's a great young man. Good fit for us, and obviously he's excited to be a part of it as well. Chris Stan Ivory. Chris Stan is from Cathedral High School, came to camp as well. A guy that had several Ivy League opportunities and has a sister that graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. And we have had the one place area that we've struggled a little bit is beating Ivy League schools in the recruiting process. And we were a little bit nervous. He just took his last one last week to Cornell. And he had been to University of Pennsylvania already, came to us in between, and I think he just fell in love with our players. I think our players did a great job with him, but I think our motto, too, is maybe you don't have to go 3,000 miles to get an Ivy League education and maybe not live in 3 feet of snow. And I think that he really liked the fact that where we were located. He liked what we did on offense. He'll play slot for us, and we just think he's going to be a valuable addition. He's a 10'7", 800-meter guy. He's pretty thick and put together and just a real focused young man, which is really what a lot of our guys are here at Cal Poly, and just really gets the fact that when it's football time, watch out, and when it's academic time, he's going to do what he needs to do to become the student he wants to become as well. And we didn't hear yes from Chris Stan until late Sunday night when he arrived back from his last Ivy League visit. Roland Jackson, a wide receiver, another guy that came to camp. He's a little bit on the thin side. He's young. He's going to be explosive. Francis Parker 2 years ago had a great run to the state championship game down in Los Angeles where we saw him play the first time. Then he came to camp, and he really impressed us with his ability and knack to get after the football and obviously his quickness off the line of scrimmage and his overall flat speed. We think he's going to be a playmaker. We think the best is yet to come, so the likelihood and probability is obviously he's a great redshirt candidate so that he can fill out physically. But I think he's going to give us great addition when we lose some guys next year at the X receiver position. But he has a great knack for the football, another guy that's very focused. He's an interesting deal, and his dad joined the military at a late age and is actually being deployed to Afghanistan here in the future. So he's going through some difficult times that way. But I know that everybody's extremely proud not only of his dad, but of what Roland accomplished at Francis Parker and what he's going to continue to accomplish here at Cal Poly. Chris Judge is from the Air Force Academy via Oaks Christian High School. We recruited him 2 years ago out of Oaks Christian. And like a lot of guys, they had to go find out about that Air Force deal. And some of it's a great thing. And, God bless them. We need guys that want to do the things that happen at a military academy and the leadership things that are developed. But he just found out it just wasn't for him. This year is a true freshman there because he went to the prep school first, which really doesn't count. So he's 4 for 3 coming back, and he actually played there as a true freshman. He backed up this year most of the time at inside linebacker at the Air Force Academy, where Greg Luford did a good job recruiting him out of high school. And sometimes you lose a guy to the places like the Air Force Academy or one of the academies, and maybe they come back because they do find out it's just not for them. And Chris found that out, and we're thankful that he did because obviously with the departure of Marty Muhammad in the middle, we think that he's going to bring some game experience and some athletic ability. If you watch him run, and he is probably all of 6'3" and 220 or 25 pounds now, he can flat run. And we're real excited about his presence being here and the immediate help that he can give us. Marcus Paige Allen is from Sheldon High School in Sacramento, and this is where Jamar got his hair cut, so this is how that thing all went down. Sometimes you find different ways, but he's got a great get-off, and if you look at his number 73, his uncle Larry played for me at Sonoma State, and I think he was an all-right player at the Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers for about 16 years. So he's got some lineage to him that says that he can play. His bench press is over 400 pounds right now as a senior in high school, and to be honest with you, I don't think we have a guy that bench presses 400 pounds on our team. So he brings strength, explosion, and speed. Unfortunately, he's not 6 feet. I mean, really, Marcus is probably 5'10", 275 or 80 pounds. But, again, at our level, we look for the engine, and he's got the engine. He's got the motor. He really was a dominant player in his high school all-star game this year as well, and really feel that we got a guy that can be a difference maker down the road. And if you look at our D lineman this year, we're pretty senior-oriented, so we're excited about him and what he's going to bring to the table for us. Matt Raisa, we lost Scotty Cordier, who was kind of a little bit of the heart and soul of who we were a little bit on defense, and we thought we needed some immediate help at the safety position. Matt's from Saddleback Junior College and Edison High School in Orange County, which both play outstanding football, both at the Edison at the high school level, obviously, and Saddleback at the junior college level. He's a 3-6 student, so he fits that part of the deal as well. And we really feel that it's a great match for Orange County kids coming to San Luis Obispo, California. It's a pretty easy transition. You just got to minus about 4 million people, and you got exactly what you want. So I think he's excited to be here. His family was excited that he said yes. He had some opportunities, but I just think he fell in love with the area, the players, and the opportunity as a junior college guy to know that we had an immediate need. He's physical. We think he's got good feet. He plays well in the pass as well as the run. And really feel like he's a guy that will be a major contributor. Maybe need to work on his hands a little bit after that one right there, Matt, but he's coming. Steven Sipple, offensive lineman from Folsom High School, state champions this year, and a guy that came to camp. And of the offensive linemen we signed, he's the only true offensive lineman. The other 2 guys were really great defensive linemen. But if you look at him right there, just that little clip right there of the ability to snap the ball and reach somebody that's almost 2 gaps away from him is an incredible thing. But he's a player that I just really feel like can be a dominant player for us. He gets it with the shotgun things that we've introduced. Obviously, those will be positives for us. But his physical ability, his ability to run, get off the football, I think he's a great addition to what we do. And we feel like the 3 guys that we signed on the offensive line with 3 of the guys we signed a year ago, we really feel fortunate that we've really helped the quality and the depth of where we are now, but also ensured the future, and Steven's a big part of that. Garrett Steele. This was a steal. Kingsburg High School. If you look at his senior year, he didn't really ever play quarterback. He was a running back and that did whatever they asked him to do, and they had a couple of great quarterbacks a couple of years ago, or even a year ago, I think it was, that I think one went to Davis and I think one went to USC. I'm not sure, but Garrett was still a main player in that thing, but he was a running back and a defensive back. And we saw him play quarterback, and we said, boy, he's great with his ball in his hands, and obviously he is, and we want to get the ball in his hands as a slot back for us. And if you remember John Hall, we think he's kind of got John Hall abilities. John did a great job playing behind the quarterback as well as playing the slot position, but he could make people miss. He's fast, and I think he produced. I mean, his numbers were ridiculous as far as the numbers that he produced this year at his position, and just as a phenomenal young man that comes from a football family. His dad played at the University of Southern California. His uncle actually is the head coach at Kingsburg High School, played at Sacramento State. So when it came down really to at the end, it came down to Sacramento and Cal Poly, and we were just happy that he wanted to put on the right green and gold hat, which is the Cal Poly one. So I think he gets the value of where he's going educationally as well as where he's going athletically. This is from this, and sorry about this to San Luis High School, but this is against San Luis High School right here, and it is a pretty incredible ESPN highlight right here. But he's one of those guys that just has a unique ability to make things happen with his feet. And, you know, the guys that have the it factor, and we really think Garrett's got that it factor. Willie Tucker, this is a great get for us because we think Willie is ready to play as a freshman. And we've told him we need him to be ready to play as a freshman. And he had Nevada Reno, and Nevada Reno was flashing all those bull rings they have and all those things to him. And I think that it was a tough decision for him, you know. But I think what we did a good job of is getting him personally to look at the value of Cal Poly, not just the value of Cal Poly football, which we think has a great value as well, not to sell it short, but all the things that he could get out of coming here as a young man. I think his dad and mom both, I think, worked for KSBY for a little plug there. But they're really good people, and they were real excited when they were hoping that he would choose Cal Poly, but it was totally his decision. He made his official visit to Reno and told coaches that he needed to take his trip to Cal Poly and make a good decision for himself. And then actually went unofficially one more time to Reno to look at it to make sure that he felt strongly in his heart that he was making the right decision. And at 6'3", 200 pounds, he runs in the low 4.6s, not a blazer, but I think he's got the ability to grow into what Dominic Johnson was for us in the past couple of years, and we're expecting him to come in and be a good player immediately. He gets the game. He runs a great routes. He's got great hands. He's physical, and I just think he's got the ability to be a playmaker for us and compete to play at an early time in his career. So he was a good get and an exciting one for us as well. Andrew Walsh, I'll tell you what, that name carries a lot of weight in this program. So Andrew is a guy that we got on a little bit late. Really liked him. He's extremely strong. He's a pretty fast kid in the 100 meters, but we saw him be an explosive player on both sides of the ball. As a wideout, he was very, very productive and showed good speed and very elusive with the football. But in the secondary, we saw him be a little bit more aggressive maybe than we anticipated the first time that we watched him through. But he will play on the defensive side of the ball at safety. He's a guy that we expect probably to redshirt coming in. But for Chirico Hills, good high school football again down in Orange County. Good fit overall, and I really feel like he made a good decision for himself, but which in turn is a good decision for us at Cal Poly. Deonte Williams, a junior college All-American, Northern Arizona University out of high school where he was the Big Sky Freshman of the Year. This guy's got some ability, and we are expecting him to come in and compete for a lot of playing times this year, which will allow us to do some different things with some of the other guys that we have on our team and probably put X amount of guys on the field that can all touch the football and score touchdowns from different locations. He's got tremendous instincts at the running back position, and really feel like Deonte's a guy that, again, is going to be a difference-maker kind of guy with the ball in his hands. He can do a lot of things, obviously, including return the football, but overall we really liked his attitude towards the game of football, and he turned down some good schools as well in order to make this his final destination in his career. And I think a lot of it, again, has a lot to do with the fact that he's got 2 years left to play, and he wants to make the most out of them. And I think he saw the needs that we have as needs that he could continue to grow with. And we'd like to see him score a couple of touchdowns like he just did against Idaho State here in the future. Kyle Zak Nick, 6'1", 260, plays in one of the best leagues in Southern California at Los Alamitos High School. He was, as a defensive lineman, offensive lineman, the conference player of the year. Now, that's a rare thing to happen down there because obviously there's a lot of skill players that go on to big places and play. But Kyle was the player of the year in his conference. He's great motor on both sides of the football. He came to camp and impressed us tremendously with his ability to overcome what some people would say is lack of size. But then again, we don't play with the biggest guys in America. We see him as a guy that could play any of the three offensive positions for us on the offensive line. He's physical, he's quick off the football, and he is getting bigger. He's great in the weight room and has a great motor. And, again, another guy from Orange County that we think is a great fit for us. We convinced him of that, and we were very fortunate with the schools that were recruiting him for him to say yes and make us a better football team and hopefully give himself the opportunity to achieve some great goals for himself. Great. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that anybody has. And then we can go from there. Just so I maybe say this real quick, I just want to say that starting from the south-north, Justin Wood recruits San Diego and Southern Orange County. Coach Saga Tuatelli recruits Northern Orange County and the Inland Empire. Coach Thompson recruits Los Angeles, basically the greater Los Angeles, Pasadena areas. Then kind of bumps into Coach Tuatelli a little bit on that end and bumps into Coach Lufer, who has kind of the northern parts of like Valencia, that area, and goes back up, makes the U and comes home. Coach Brown has the Central Valley, the Fresno area, up through to Stockton. Coach Kane is the Sacramento Flash this year with the amount we signed from Sacramento. Coach Cook has the Bay Area. And I just go, once they got everything all signed, sealed, and delivered, and try to make an appearance that hopefully makes some people feel comfortable that their sons have made the right decision already. So, but everybody does a great job. Coach Crivello, Coach PJ Johnson, Coach Cox, that aren't on the road, but they do a tremendous job for us in the office as well. So I just want to throw that out.
Hey, Coach. I think through the first 2 seasons here at Cal Poly, we can all say that injuries have been a big problem. Did you see this offseason you were looking for more guys like Willie Tucker and Deonte Williams as guys you could plug in immediately rather than projects that you would work on over a redshirt season?
Well, you would hope over the 3-year process that we've had that we've given ourselves the opportunity, hopefully, to overcome injuries with the depth that we created. And we feel very comfortable right now. A couple of things are, last year we were very senior-laden at wide receiver. And so we did need immediate wide receiver help as well as future wide receiver help, and we think we answered that question well too. On the defensive line, obviously we're going to be pretty senior oriented next year too, but there's some depth there. There were some areas where we were really uncomfortable, and linebacker was one of them where we feel like that Chris Judge will give us immediate impact, whether it's as a starter or a backup is up to him and how he progresses once he gets here. We think Chris Fletcher and Matt Raisa in the secondary, and maybe even Mr. Dennis, too, Carlton Dennis. All 3 of those guys could come in and compete to play in the secondary tomorrow. So we do feel like we've answered some of those questions, but I think with the process of what many guys, last year I think we redshirted 18 guys, and I might be wrong there. Those 18 guys are going to give us some depth, and we've been able to do that 2 consecutive years, which gives us the depth that we're looking for. So I don't see that as being a big issue as maybe it's been the first couple of years. But it was part of the process.
Was wide receiver the strength of need you were trying to attack this offseason?
Well, we just think we needed to attack it for the immediacy for now. We're moving Jared Houston back to wide receiver. That's going to help us there. Lance Castaneda has had tremendous progress in his freshman year. Brandon Machakowicz. I mean, there's some guys here that are good players. But we felt like we needed to get at least one that could be an impact player, and then we needed to make sure we ensured the future as well. And I think between Jordan Hines and Roland Jackson, we ensured the future, and we're hoping that Willie Tucker can come in and give us downs as a true freshman. That's, again, they got to earn the right to do that. I mean, there's guys in the program that are pretty good players too. And like I said at the end of the release that Eric gave you guys, we do have room for a couple more if we wanted to go that way, but it would be for the Dominique Johnsons of the world and the Mark Rogers of the world probably is the way we'd look at that right now.
Mm-hmm. Is there a Dominique Johnson in this recruiting class that you could say?
Well, I compared Willie to him. I mean, I didn't see what Dominique looked like out of high school, but Willie Tucker's 6'3", 205 pounds right now, and what's he going to look like when he's 22 years old? We're hoping that he's 6'3" and 220 pounds and remains as physical as he is and hopefully becomes as more athletic as he gets stronger, bigger, faster, and all those things in the game experience. But he's got some ability to do that, and I hate to say anything, Jordan Hines, his talent level is tremendous. Where he could be when we see where he is 5 years ago, then I'll answer that question 5 years from now. But that's what the future looks like to us, is that he has that physical ability to become a tremendous player for us.
Were you able to use the shift to the Big Sky as a kind of a golden coin for these guys with teams playing in there that may be the best in the SCS?
Well, we use it as from a regionalization standpoint. There's no question, and it's to solidify us as a football program. There's no question it was probably a benefit. If you're a mom and a dad, it's a lot easier to get to Ogden, Utah than it is to get to go watch us play Old Dominion or some of the schools we played last year, no offense. So I think it was a huge benefit to regionalize ourselves for mom and dad to see them play. But overall, we use the FCS level. I mean, the FCS level, people get confused because we don't have a B in the middle of us. We have a C in the middle of us. You get confused at how good the level is. And no offense to some schools that have a B in their name, but there's some schools that have B's in their name that probably wouldn't want to play us or anybody else that's at the top level of FCS. So if you're a top 25 ranked team, which we've been fortunate to be a lot in the last few years, then also in our past history at Cal Poly, when you're that type of a program, you can go compete against some people. Now, can we beat the top 25 or 30 teams in the country? Probably not. Can we beat the next 25 or 30? Maybe 1 out of 10. Can we beat the bottom 70 at that level? Maybe 5 out of 5. So that's a level of play that we play. So we use the FCS level. It's a great level of college football.
Now, through a couple of recruiting classes, can you say that the academic rigors of Cal Poly, does that shrink the pool of guys that you're looking at, or does that grow it in terms of guys?
We try not to use the word rigors. We try to use the word that it's definitely a benefit to have a degree from Cal Poly, and although it's a difficult school to get into right now from an academic admission standpoint, we feel that it's a great school to go to gain an education. And when you graduate, regardless of the major that you have decided at Cal Poly, which you have to decide as a freshman, when you graduate from Cal Poly, it means something. It carries a lot of weight, and it's going to be if you want to live in this state and you have a Cal Poly degree, people are going to look at that and say, okay. And then they're going to say you played college football on top of that? And we're able to do both at that university. And knowing the type of students that come here, take athletics away from it, you're creating yourself a pretty good resume. So that's what the next 5 years is supposed to be about for these young people, is to write a resume that's going to get them to where they want to be the next 50 years of their life. And we think that Cal Poly gives us a great opportunity to do that.
Hey, Tim, did you make a run at any punters in recruiting?
We will have a punter. It's just unfortunate they don't allow you to sign guys that are committed as walk-ons. So we have a guy, and we're very excited about him, but I can't comment on him right now. And once he accepts his admissions slot here, then I might be able to talk about him. But he's a good player.
With Chris Brown coming in and maybe another quarterback or two in this class, hard to know, how do you see the quarterbacks that you had last year, either the redshirts or didn't play that much? Do you expect them to come back next year?
Yeah, I do. Duke DeLance-Lottie has transferred. And, I think that he decided that, there was going to be a little bit of logjam there. But we only signed one quarterback, just so I make sure I say that, because that was one of the huge getting points of Chris Brown, was to say we were going to sign one. And then once Duke decided to leave, we did pursue looking into other quarterbacks. But Chris Brown all along has been our targeted guy, and we think that he has a tremendous future, and we hope he competes his tail off to be at least number 3 this year. But going into the year, there's no question that Andre Broaddus it's his opportunity. We think Doug has showed us that he has the ability to be a tremendous backup for us. So we're looking for somebody to come in and develop for a couple of years, and then hopefully have 3 years as a starter, and feel strongly Chris Brown can be that guy.
Hey, Coach, I can't remember who it was your first press conference when you were hired, or your first signing day, but you said that somewhere along the lines that being the coach at Cal Poly has advantages over, say, when you were at Portland State. Recruiting-wise. And you touched on it, some of the advantages of Cal Poly. Now, 3 years in, recruiting-wise, do you feel like that's true, that recruiting here is maybe a little bit easier than it is at some other schools?
Yeah, there's no question. I really think one of the great things about the academic side of this whole puzzle that we talk about all the time is that you can go into a home, and if the home gets it, and when we talk about the home, the mom, the dad, and the son, they get the fact that that Chris Gokon played here, that Kyle Shotwell played here, that Ramses Barton played here, all the guys, Jordan Beck played here, and they all played in the NFL. But you know what all 4 of them have? They have great degrees. Chris Gokon just signed a great multi-year contract and all those things, and one of the comments he made was that he's an engineer. That's a pretty unique blend of people, and I think people that get that, this is a pretty easy deal for us. And there are more and more people out there, and I can go back and I can use Chris Brown as a great deal to this thing. When the thing that kind of helped us along in the process with Chris was that his mom and dad understood it. They have a son at Stanford, and he had SC, UCLA. He could have went anywhere. And he chose Sanford. So what's that tell you about the household and the educational part of it? That tells us it probably has a great value to the family. And I think then when you throw the football part of the equation into it, and kids get the fact that we're going to require them to do both at a high level. A lot of people want to say, well, it's academics first and it's athletics second. I don't agree with that. I think young people have enough time in the day to say, I'm going to be a great student when it's student time, and I'm going to be a great football player or student athlete when it's athletic time. And then the third piece of the puzzle, the social part of it, which, look where we are in San Luis Obispo. It's a great college town. I get it. And that's part of the sell, too. But that better be the third part of the sell. And I think the other two, I think really, when young people get it, they get it. It might have taken Willie Tucker a little time to understand that, but he gets it. And that's why he chose us over Nevada Reno.
You said there could still be an opportunity to sign a guy or two. Are you expecting that, or are you just kind of hopeful that something may, fall into your lap, I guess?
Well, I guess, if you really look at who's on our team right now and look at some guys that have done it, I think that obviously Mark a year ago was a pretty good sign. Might have been a bad one, but he sure looked like he's going to pan out to be a good one. And I think without Dominic Johnson, where would we have been? Really at the wide receiver position, no offense. I mean, those were two quality guys in the last 2 years. So we would like to carry that tradition on and be 3 for 3 on the offensive side of the ball. And the defensive side of the ball, if you look at Matt Singletary, gave us a lot of quality downs last year and will probably be a better player this year. And we think Chris Judge will be right along in that same little deal. So do I think it's going to happen? I do. But we will always be extremely selective on the type of guy that we say yes to that's a transfer. And Dominique did a great job. Will graduate at the end of this quarter. Mark's been a hit not only on the football field, but I think as a student here, and really is enjoying his process as a college student as much as he is about the opportunity to be a guy next year that we think will be a Walter Payton candidate.
My last question, what can you tell us about the schedule? When might we see the official schedule come out?
Well, he really doesn't like the term interim director of athletics. I don't think he likes either one of those three terms, to be honest with you. But Mr. Webb is sitting right behind you, and we are very close. So I don't know what's transpired since yesterday when I talked with Phil, but we're real close to being able to announce the schedule and feel very comfortable that it's going to be the last time that we have to go through the rigors, because that is a rigorous thing, of trying to find 7 games and trying to five home games. That's not easy when you only have 4 games in your schedule. And the Big Sky, thank them for allowing us in, but that's going to be a huge asset to us in the future in our scheduling issues that we've had in the past.
J.D. Scroggin with Tribune Coach. I want to stay on that topic real quick of Big Sky. You mentioned sort of how you use that conference, that new conference alignment. What do you feel like the response was from parents, from coaches, from players when you told them you found some stability in the Big Sky? Were they receptive to it, or was there any disappointment that you couldn't maybe dangle that possible FBS move by the end of their career? Or
What's the future? Nobody can predict what the future is going to be. In reality, I mean, look at the WAC right now. If we would have said yes to the WAC, where would we be right now? We'd probably be back in a Great West type of situation. It's a more well-known league. I think so. The benefits were, number one, when we say Great West, is that the Big West? Nobody. I mean, really, the general population doesn't get what the Great West Conference is, and neither did I really until I came to Cal Poly. I just know that North Dakota and South Dakota, obviously Southern Utah has done a good job, and Davis up the road. It's a good football league of 5 teams. And I think to say we're in the Big Sky, I think you start saying the University of Montana, and now I hate to say them, but Eastern Washington and what they accomplished this year, it carries Montana State, carries good weight. And then you throw in Davis and Cal Poly into the mix. The people on the West Coast get it. They understand that that's quality football and great football, and we're very fortunate to be in that conference. And where we are 5 years from now, in the Big Sky, I want to emphasize that that's where we're going to be. That depends on what happens in college athletics in the next 4 or 5 years. But starting in 2012, we'll be excited to be in the league. In 2011, we do play some Big Sky schools, and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we play the best. When you're playing Eastern Washington and Montana, you're not dodging any bullets. So we're excited about that fact and look forward to 2012, but not until we accomplish what we hope to accomplish in 2011.
What was the response from parents and coaches? I mean, were people aware of what Big
Sky
is
their
versus
thing is they know where the conference is. So the conference is known. Whereas I said the Great West, well, where do we have to go? Where do we have to go to see my son play? And, are they still maybe going to have to go there once in a while? They might, because four of the 5 teams went. But when you say Montana, they understand that, Montana's Western regionalized. It's going to give us 8 games. Spokane, Washington, pretty easy place to get to. Portland, Oregon, easy place to get to. It's Western. For them, it made sense to them from the fact that they'll be able to watch their sons play. And it's pretty tough if you're a dad that's working his tail off to raise their family and create a living for themselves, and they have to continually take Thursday and Friday and Saturday off because we're traveling 3,500 miles away from home all the time. That's not going to happen. They don't want to do that 5 weeks in a row like we did last year. So I think they get the fact of why we went there. Everybody, a lot of people have wishes about this FCS, FBS thing, but I think when we ask who's recruiting you from the FBS level, and they say, I'm not going to use names, but that bottom 70 teams in FBS, they get the fact that we play that level of football. And I think that they felt very comfortable after visiting with our coaches, after visiting with our players, and after watching our film that the level that their sons are going to be playing is a great level in the Big Sky.
This class overall, I know you've said in the past too, every year everybody's happy with their class, but this year, compared with your previous 2 recruiting classes, I mean, how do you feel today about where this one ranks?
But I just think there's some guys that are in there that on our list that said yes, that like Chris Fletcher. To be honest with you, when we offered him, I thought it was going to be a stretch. He was that good at camp. That we were going to have to, that might be a stretch and we might not be able to get him. And I think the ability to go get those kind of players, again, tells us that we can upgrade the athlete that we're trying to recruit. And we have each year and tried to each year. And this year we took some stretches and lost on a couple, to be honest with you. But you never know what happens to those guys you lose. It's possible that they may come back at a certain point in time too. And, and I think that, so from an overall standpoint, yeah, I'm extremely excited. There's, to beat some Ivy League schools. Is an issue place where we probably struggled a little bit in the past, and Coach Cook's from the East Coast, and he would warn me, if it's Penn, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, those are going to be tough beats back there, and to beat Penn on a couple of kids, that's a unique thing for us and a real positive, and I think that good football players, good students, quality people. So overall, I think it's an outstanding class. I think I'm real excited about the 3 linemen we signed on the offensive side of the ball. You might not hear their names for a couple of years because we think we're deep enough next year going in. We have 16 returning starters next year. So the immediate help thing isn't as big an issue as it might have sounded like. I mean, we have an opportunity to be a good football team next year. So really, some of these guys that we signed, it's probably going to be a 1 or 2 year wait. And that's when that's really, you can grade your class now and all these recruiting services, but I'm telling you right now, you can watch ESPN and watch those top 100 guys sign, and some of them you never hear from again. I mean, I just saw Mitch Mustaine today in the newspaper, and it wasn't a good thing, but I mean, that guy was the most highly recruited quarterback in the United States. So the recruiting science usually really doesn't pay off, especially at our level, because we're dealing with those guys that are in that top 40%, let's say, of guys. We'll see what it is, a year or 2 from now, and see how they develop. That's when you're really going to be able to grade the class. But going in, I'm excited.
What's the biggest adjustment you guys have made to your recruiting pitches as the more time you've spent here at Cal Poly?
I think the one thing that that I think that going through it is that when I first came here, I'll be honest, facilities were an issue. Have the facilities changed since I've arrived? No. But the one thing we do going in, we are flat honest with our guys about going into it. I used to be afraid of saying it. I walk in now and say, if you're going to a school because of facilities, don't come here. Because are they going to change? Hopefully. But what we have is what we have. And if you look at all the things that surround it, when the dust settles, no matter what your weight room looks like, we got a great weight room. Dave Wood does a great job working in the weight room down there. Our players bust their butt in the weight room. It's a weight room where you can get bigger and stronger. And what do you want out of it? What's the trade-off? Well, look where you live. Look where we'd be for the next 5 years. Look at the education you're going to receive at Cal Poly, and we're going to win football games. And you're going to play. And I think if you add those 4 things up, I think that this place is a can't-miss situation. Could it be better? I think it could be. Maybe the 3 or 4 guys that said no would have said yes if our facility's better. But to be honest with you, I don't want guys in our program that come here because of our facilities. Would I like to have nicer facilities? Sure. But I want guys who want to come here because of what they see as a whole of what they can become at Cal Poly.
With just to go a couple individuals with Paige Allen, I know the story about Jamar and his haircut, but how much of the tie with you and coaching Larry did that factor in?
Well, I know that, Coach Kane made sure that they knew who I was and where I'd been. And I'm sure I would think that Larry would say good things. I know he enjoyed his experience at Sonoma State, and he's a great story in himself because the fact, you talk about football. Okay, one of the two of the recruiting lines we use in it is arguably who's the best wide receiver ever played the game. Jerry Rice. Where did he go to school? Do you have to go to USC to be the best player in the NFL? No. Arguably, who's the best offensive lineman that ever played the game? It's Larry Allen. I mean, if you ask John Madden, I guarantee you he would have Larry Allen in the top 4 or 5. And he went to Sonoma State, a non-scholarship Division II school. So as far as all the things you want to achieve as a football player, those are two great stories, and I'm sure that Larry passed that on to Marcus, is that Coach Walsh, if you become the player you want to become, he'll do everything he can to help you get to where you want to get as a football player as well. And I think that more importantly, I hope he said good things about who I am as a human being. That carries more weight to me.
Yeah, and Chris Judge, you mentioned wanting him to compete for a spot right away. Would that be in the middle and keeping guys like Kenny and Johnny and Max out on the outside where they'd been playing?
Well, in reality, Kenny's played. It'll be probably his third linebacker position in 3 years. But the Sam linebacker and the Mike linebacker are very similar now because of what people are doing formationally. I mean, the Mike linebacker, everybody says the middle linebacker, which he is, but because people are spreading people out so many different ways, a lot of times two guys are in the box anyway. And so whether you're to the weak side of the box or the strong side of the box, you're in the box. And so Kenny's had that experience already. So the likelihood is what we'd probably like to do is move him to the Mike linebacker and have Chris Judge come in and compete as one of the outside guy. And we think that he's got that ability too. But again, that'll probably be a wait and see approach to how he does when he gets here. No problem.
I would assume one of the players that you didn't get that you went after was Tyler Gray. Can you talk about how close that was with him?
I really can't comment on him. I wish I could, but I can't. We recruited him.
Can you mentioned to me after last season that you might want to increase, or open some things up a bit offensively. Is that something that you sold to some of these recruits, and is that something that helps some of these offensive players come to Cal Poly?
Well, I think Coach Cook has done a good job of putting together some things we would like to be able to do, but again, the bottom line thing of what we do is we still are going to be a triple option team. How much we open it up, I mean, if you really look at what Andre can do, and you look at the games that Andre started this past year, take McNeese State and Old Dominion, which McNeese State ended up being a good football team that played pretty close. I think they came in second in the Southland Conference, and Old Dominion, I think, finished 8-3 or 9-2. I'm not positive which, but we scored 40 and 50 respectively with Andre as a quarterback, and I think his ability to come in and grow from that experience will be a tremendous experience for what we want to do in the future. But as Andre grows, we'll grow it, and that will allow the young guys to continue to grow underneath that system as well. So will you see some things that are different? Yep. How much? What's the percentage going to be? It's going to depend. It's going to be dependent on what we think Andre can handle, and we want to make sure that the ball is in Andre Broaddus' hands. So to answer that question, did we use it? Yes, we used it. Is it a fact? Yeah, it's a fact. How much of it is going to happen in the next year as opposed to the next 5 years? That'll be discussed by Coach Cook and myself at some point in time.
The final thing I have is you talk about you still have some money. Can you give specifics? Is there 2 full scholarships left, or what do you have left in the kitty?
We probably could sign 3 full scholarships right now.
And you'll do something with that money, correct?
Well, I have always kept X amount of dollars for walk-on. Giovanni Sani, Andy Alcarez. I've given some guys some cash that have walked on here in the past and proven to be the players that we thought they would be when we got them to come here for nothing. So there's some guys in the program right now that I need to take care of that have been, some have been here 4 years that haven't been taken care of in 4 years. So I probably need to do some things in that respect with some of that money.
Thank you, Coach.
No problem. Thank you guys for coming. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Tim, when you first started, you talked about your assistants at different parts of California that they recruit, and this is an all-California class. Was there any considerations, or how much did you delve into Oregon, Washington, Texas, Arizona, wherever?
2 things. Number one, I am from California, and I've always argued that the state of California is arguably the top 4 or 5 in the United States with talent. I really do believe you can take the map of California out, close your eyes, and take a pin needle and put it in there, and you can go find a guy. Take Garrett Steele, great player, Valley guy, but not all the guys know exactly where that high school is. I can guarantee you that much, and I really think that that's a fact. And I think when you also put the cost to go recruit for us, to go recruit 6 or 7 guys out of state, there's a large cost not only from our recruiting them and bringing them to campus, but there is also a scholarship cost that goes into play for us as well. So until Coach Webb back there tells me that maybe that's the thing that we ought to go start looking at, then I would ask for a lot more money in my recruiting budget and in my scholarship budget, and then we'd make that determination to do that. But even then, they would have to be a better player than what we could find in state. So if I was going to take a guy from the state of Texas, he better be better than the guy that's in Santa Maria, California. I'm not going to, if they're all equal, I'm going to go 30 miles. I'm not going to go 2,000 miles. And I really do believe that for us, that's the best fit right now for who we are. And we are a California State University school, and I respect the fact that the kids in the state of California want to come to the school.
Coach Walsh, thank you very much, and thank you all for joining us today at the
Thanks,
press conference.
Aristotle, you're on.